Fill your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hands. Feel the comfort flow inside you.
Hi, welcome to Healing Outside the Box. I'm Rosemary LaChance, an energy healer, spiritual advisor, and teacher.
Hi, and I'm Carla Augustin, a spiritual teacher and your co-host for tonight.
We are your hosts for this thought-provoking series and are dedicated to providing you with food for thought information and answers to all modalities of alternative healing, spiritual development, animal welfare, environmental concerns, and so much more in the form of guest speakers who are experts in their fields. This series is recorded and will be shown in your area on your local public service cable network. Please contact them for dates and times. Please visit my website and click on my TV show, where you will find a wealth of information about this show.
These shows are available for you to watch free on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and type in Healing Outside the Box to make your choices. We're constantly adding new shows, so please keep checking back. We're also on Facebook under Healing Outside the Box. Please like our page to get information about new shows, and we do hope you enjoy the show.
Okay, this is show number 236, and our guest tonight is the famous, wonderful, we love to pieces, Roland Comtois.
Oh,
yeah.
Welcome, Roland.
Thank you.
know,
It's a
pleasure to meet
be
you.
with you guys.
Oh,
Thank
so good
you.
to have you back again.
I'm happy to be here.
See your wonderful face, your
I'm thrilled
bubbling
to be here.
personality. I'm
Thank
just going to gush over this. Okay, the title of the show is Signs of Spirit. Let me tell you a little bit about Roland. He's internationally acclaimed spiritual medium. Roland Comtois has over 40 years of experience as an inspirational speaker, author, Reiki master, metaphysical teacher, grief specialist, and geriatric nurse. Wow. Roland's multifaceted approach to healing and crossing over, as well as the messages from his signature purple papers, leaves the audience inspired.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess we always start with just a little bit. We've had you on the show before, but
Yes.
Maybe they didn't see it. Just tell us a little bit how you got started with doing all this.
Well, quickly, my
Yes.
grandmother passed away. I saw her in my bedroom. I was 10 years old. 48 years later, I'm still telling the same exact story that I felt then. I felt the presence of this eternal connection. I felt as if she was okay. I saw energy behind her. I knew that as a 10-year-old boy that there was something more, that there was something incredible. It tantalized me even as a 10-year-old kid.
Sure.
And not once was I afraid of that connection, because that connection was my grandmother.
Yeah.
It was somebody that loved me, someone that cared for me. And so it started like that, really, you know. My mother did say, though, that when I was a kid, that, 5 years old, 6 years old, that I would kind of rummage through the house looking for things or talking to things that she could not see. And she would be frustrated, and she'd say to herself, Roland, I think I got to get you to the doctor, she'd say, as I was living my life with her. But it's just an aspect, a part of me to feel this energy, to sense this energy, and then to talk about it. So it's been a lifelong journey of feeling the presence of something that's present with us every single moment.
yeah,
Wow.
that's wonderful.
Were you constant, did you go dormant at all? Or, in your teen year,
That's a
you
great
kept it
question.
up, you just kept it
Yeah,
up
just
and kept
good
it up.
questions.
That's a great question. No one's ever asked me that question. I
Okay,
got to
how
tell
about
you, in
that?
all the
Look at that.
years I've been interviewed. But the fact is, it's always been present. It was
It
present
has.
when I was in nursing school. It was present when I was in the charge nurse of a 76-bed patient unit. It was present then. It was present when I worked in other jobs. There was always a little hint of that something or that energy just lurking lovingly behind me and there. So it's never been silent, and it's never been dormant. It's been an aspect, a part of me from the get-go. From the very beginning. I even
comforting.
remember in my nursing career, my patients would say to me, I know there's more Can you tell me that there's more? And we'd have conversations about it. I mean, I remember this 98-year-old man. He was barely alive, but he wanted to know that there was something more. He wanted to know that there was life beyond here. And he really wanted to know. He said to me, I'll never forget him. He said, do you think I'm ever going to see my wife again? You know? And I'm the guy that believes you see your wife again and you see love again, really. It's really seeing love again and feeling that love again, because that's really what the experience is all about. So it's been a constant and extraordinary experience of stretching my hand through that veil to touch the message, to feel the message, to hear the message, to experience the message. But maybe you've heard me say this before. And everybody who's listening, I don't really think you need a medium to communicate with that energy. I think maybe I help for a moment or two, but it's not like I'm going to call your house when I want to talk about my mother. I'm going to sit there and feel something and remember something and find that special place within me where that energy exists, and then have a conversation with her.
That's what people need to know. That's a very good thing you brought up, because we're all capable of it if we just took the time to go within and be silent.
Every book I've ever read says that we are capable. Every book says it. I mean, the Tibetan Book of the Dead said there's one universe beyond one universe beyond one universe. The Bible says, Corinthians 12:4 says that we all have a special gift tucked inside of us.
Yes.
So there are books that say all kinds of things. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about if you get quiet enough, then maybe you too will realize that you are part of something. You know, so not one person has the ability. We all have the ability. You know, I know that sometimes I shock the audience when I say, look, you don't need me. Right? What you need, though, is a quietness, a silence, a stillness, a readiness, a preparedness to have that conversation, albeit it's in your mind, it's in your heart, but it does something, and it changes. Because, let's face it, there are signs of spirit everywhere.
Well, explain that
right,
a little
exactly.
further, you know, because people are not aware of that.
No, they don't
know what
believe.
or they don't know what to look for.
They don't know what to look for. They don't know how to have that relationship with that experience. They don't know how to make that connection. And we're often taught that the connection is so far away that it's out there somewhere in the clouds, but in fact it isn't there. It's here. Here and now is where it is. And so it does require, you know, a simple practice. I call it the 60-second spiritual workout, where you sit and meditate or be quiet for 60 seconds, and then you really become aware of the energy around you, the more silent you become. But, you know, can I tell you something else?
Sure.
There's never been a moment in the thousands of people I've met that said, "Oh my God, I can't believe you said that," because nothing I say is a news flash.
It's nothing new for them.
No, it's just a reminder that it's there. It's just someone like me reminding you that your mother is with you, or your dad, or your dog. Not that I'm an animal specialist, but it happens now. Now that my dogs have passed away, all of a sudden I can feel dogs. I mean, it's just part of the experience, right? And so it's never far from us. It's never, ever far. It does require trusting. You know, another thing I say to the audience is, it's your job to feel their love, but you have to find the place where joy exists. Because joy is the contributor of the message. It helps bring that message even further. It helps that message come to life. So when I want to think about my mom, and when I'm missing her, right, I think about that time when we were at Sand Hill Cove in Rhode Island at the beach, and she was walking the beach, and I'm starting to think about this, and I'm starting to remember, and I'm starting to feel energy from her, right? And then her flip-flops got lost in the ocean and rushed out to sea, and I think about that, and I laugh, and I feel joy, and I feel happiness. In that moment, my mother's spirit, her love, her light is present with me. So it's finding that spot, quietness first, finding joy, and then moving forward. because it's all around each and every one of us.
All right, so that's a good thing, because I hear from so many people when I'm teaching classes saying, I really do want a message. I listen for signs. I look for signs. I believe in this, but I miss my mom, and I haven't gotten any signs. So you're saying, almost like be proactive.
Right.
Sit there and think about your mom and think about a joyous time.
Yes, I'm also saying, also release your expectations.
Yeah.
Yes,
Because
that's very well.
the way they present messages now may not be the same in 2 weeks from now or 10 years from now. The communication or the experience evolves. We evolve in our physical experience. They evolve. So as we evolve together, the communication changes. The way they present the message, the way you feel them, the way you sense them, the way you hear them, the way you know them, the way you experience them changes.
That's a good
And we
point.
have to evolve with that evolution, that change, or that experience.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And so that's part of it, So you have to just keep going along and moving along and living your life the best you can. Now, I've said this before. I don't know if I've said it here before, but it's not like I've heard the afterlife say to me, be depressed. I've never heard them say that. I've never heard them say, while you're grieving, don't eat. And while you're upset, don't live. I've not heard it.
No.
What I've heard is, I love you. I'm sorry. I hope you forgive me. I'm okay. You did a great job. You're still my girl. You're still my hero. I still love you. You're still mine. Over and over again. Now, it gets articulated differently for each person who's receiving the message, but the gist of it is, that's the story.
Yeah.
It's not the afterlife. It's not like signs of spirit, or the signs from the afterlife are weighted down with sadness or grief.
Right.
We're weighted down
We're
with
the
sadness
weighted.
and grief. We are weighted down with that energy because we loved and we have loss. And those two pieces of a puzzle of our human experience transform us in thousands of ways that we may not even know at this point. And so the afterlife isn't a conversation about, hang around in the bedroom in your pajamas. It isn't. It's about the recognition of the experience you shared with each other, right?
Yeah.
You guys know I can talk. I can talk. I got a lot to say about this because
great.
you know why? When you find where you belong in life,
Yes.
you just have to live your life, right? And I'm saying this because in life, what we do for each other is we leave impressions of energy, impressions that become palpable, impressions that we can feel, experience, right? So my mother and I, before she passed away, we had millions of impressions of energy that we shared. The people that you've lost and loved, you've shared millions of impressions of love and energy. When you recollect or go back or recall those places,
Yes.
then you're back there in that moment with someone. That's how this goes.
And I think what you're saying too is that it's genuine, it's real. It's not just a memory happening.
Right.
You're saying that the loved one is truly
I am saying
almost like
that.
they're summoned in a way,
I-
right?
That's a great way of saying it. The impression summons the love
Okay.
for them, but it reminds us that we loved.
That we loved.
Now, look, not every relationship in life is easy, right?
Right.
Hey, I did a thing in New York, and a lady said, "Don't channel my mother," just like this. She did not want a message from her mother. She did not want that because they didn't have a peaceful, happy, joyful relationship. So I walk out into the room with 100 or 200 people, and you got to know, the first person I talked to is the woman who didn't want the message.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, she made that happen.
That's funny.
She manifested that moment because she needed peace in her heart about the unresolved business between mother and daughter.
Yes.
That gets exposed in these events.
Right.
Those things get exposed.
Yeah.
And they get exposed very intensely in some cases. I mean, the other night I'm in Rhode Island doing an event, and there's a woman there whose father just kept saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And then the mother said, "I'm sorry." Well, the kid was abandoned when she was little, and when those messages came to her, and then the full story behind it, it did something for her in that moment. So it's not like it's just the memory. It's the essence and the energy and the expression of the person that passed on that give us the inspiration to live our lives. And that's what my mission is, really.
Oh, sure. Well, I think that's, I do believe everything you're saying about in terms of going to that place of joy and kind of bringing them to you. But there's certainly so much value with what you do because you're, you know, especially when someone's deep in grief, you know, you're able to really bring forth a message from directly that, so it has to be very affirming for people. You know,
I mean, everybody wants
convinces them.
validation.
They want it, right?
validation. I'm someday, and I hope I see this in my lifetime, that we just kind of get past validation a little bit and go to trust. And trusting in the relationship that you had with each other. Because that's the vehicle of the conversation, right? But everybody wants to know Uncle Bob loved lemon meringue pie, but you know, and that happens. That happens plenty of times. But let's go further. Let's go deeper with this experience and let it be the tool of healing that it is meant to be. Because that's what mediumship is about. It's the space in between loss and love. It's that spot in the middle, and there is where the healing begins. Now, my lawyer says, I have to tell you I'm entertaining you.
Yes, I've heard that. That's what you have to say.
But the fact is, something else is happening.
You know it, yeah.
They know it.
Yeah, yeah.
The people in the audience know it. Forget about what I know. The people in the audience begin to have an experience. And just let me share another story with you before you ask me all the questions you want to ask. And that is, there was an event, and there was a big audience. It was in East Providence, Rhode Island, and there was a woman in the room who was just so torn with her grief. And, you know, you don't have to be psychic or a medium or anybody to see how much pain she had. But when the audience heard the message, not mine, because I have nothing to do with it, I'm simply the person in the middle. But when that message started to come, and the woman started to change, and you saw her get comfortable in her seat, you saw her take a deep breath because her lips were going blue from not breathing, you saw her cry a tear of relief, and then you saw the audience stand around her. Oh man, this makes me very emotional for some reason.
All right, goosebumps, yeah.
The audience kind of comes around that one person and telepathically maybe says, I've got you, you're okay, you're not going to fall. There was a woman once at an event who walked across the entire auditorium to go and hold the woman's hand that I was talking to.
Wow.
That tells you where humanity is going.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
it gives you
isn't it?
inspiration. And she was better. The girl was better. The older woman was better. You know, I've said this story before about a 95-year-old woman who's come to my event several times before she passed away. She just wanted a message from her brother who passed away when she was 10 years old. She had waited 85 years.
Wow.
And when that message was finally delivered in a way that she could understand and digest and experience, she had peace.
I was going to say she died.
And 3 months later, she died.
Oh,
Yeah,
she
wow.
did. 3 months later, yeah, she had peace. Right?
Several months later, she passed on. And it gave her whatever she needed.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and the truth is, I will never forget that woman. She has left her impression and her imprint right here. Now I carry her with me wherever I go, wherever I am in the world, that she goes with me. Because that's the power of the energy. That's the power of signs of spirit. That's the power of the message, that it gives us the encouragement and the inspiration to carry on.
What's so wonderful about you is that people, a lot of them who've passed over have unfinished business here, things they want to say to someone. and didn't realize it, didn't know they were going to die.
Sure.
And so then they have that, and they get that closure
Sure.
on the other side. And the same with the people who are here, wish they could have said or done, so they get that closure. And so that's wonderful that you can give them that closure.
Yeah, you know, I don't call it closure, anymore. I call it seal the healing. And it's really this idea that whatever they were to each other, that they still are, right? That's from an old poem. Whatever, death is only something away. It's an old poem that was read in the, early 19th century. And it was just about that I'm just in the other room, and this is just a reminder that I'm in the other room, that I'm in the next spot or the next place, simply within your grasp.
Right.
And that's what happens when those messages come. So I don't know if closure's the word. Some people have said to me, I have closure now because of what you said.
Maybe
Perfect.
just on that particular
But-
subject of
yes.
what they wanted to say or do.
Yes.
Not closure that they won't see them anymore. Just,
No.
just on that one thing that was bothering me,
Yep.
say,
Yes.
now I can understand, now I can,
I see it time and time again, and my staff sees it. I mean, my staff sees it more than I do because I'm kind of in another zone somehow. I'm on a mission to deliver as many messages or purple papers as I can. So they see the audience change more clearly than I see the audience change. And they often say to me on the ride home, you should have seen what happened to that guy, or that girl, or somebody. You should have seen what happened in that moment. So there's this story after story, moment after moment, message after message that comes that gives us the inspiration. But again, I don't think you need me. I don't really think so. I think that it's right here, it's right here, it's in your breath, it's in your consciousness, it's in your awareness, it's in your present moment, and simply being there in that space allows you to have a very deep and profound conversation with someone that has passed on.
well, you're the spark that gets it started.
I accept that's
Yeah.
the possibility here,
Yeah.
but the fact is, it's just is the way it is.
Well, you're saying that we can talk to them
Yes.
anytime, and when
Anytime,
we
yeah.
talk to them,
Yes.
they come.
They come, and I realize that there will be people that will believe this, and there will be people that don't believe this. I realize every single day that people are skeptical, and people are cynical, and people are trying to find their way. It isn't my mission to get you to believe me. Truth isn't because I said it. Truth happens when you hear something and it kind of rewires you for a second. It gets your thought process different than it was a moment ago. And all of a sudden you have an emotion as a result of what you heard. That's when things change. That's when you begin to look at things a lot differently than you did before.
That's so true. So something I wanted to say in that, and it went past my mind. I was talking to someone just recently, and was starting to tell them about you and what how people use you to contact their love. I don't believe in that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I want to tell you now. I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay.
Well, somewhere along
that's
the
what
line,
they do. Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, they were told not to believe in it. Somewhere along the line, some institution, someone,
Yes.
some old grandmother, some old uncle said, that's
all baloney.
That's all
yeah,
baloney
yeah.
and all
Yeah.
of that. But, the proof is in the pudding. In those audiences, when people have a reaction or an emotion or an experience, and then they say to me that they feel better, then we know that something's happened. Again, truth isn't because I said it. It's because you had a reaction when you heard it.
Right.
That's what truth is, Because I have these people after me all the time, like, oh
Sure.
my God, you're this, you're that. But the fact is, I hear the stories from people, and I hear my staff tell me, and I get plenty of messages from people who say they feel better. And I say, well, thank God for that, or thank something for that experience, for that moment. That's not any different than all these papers I have
This is
in front of
amazing
me.
here.
Yeah,
Right?
tell us a little bit about those purple papers, would you?
So, all of these purple papers are handwritten, pre-recorded messages that I write before I walk into an event, before an event. So I generally write 4 to 6 days a week, depending on how busy my week is. Generally, I write 9 messages. So each of them tell a different story about what someone has gone through. So every one of these is about someone that passed away. From someone named Arthur who said he couldn't get his legs to get going anymore. And he talks about how he couldn't get his body to cooperate. And he talks about the hospital and home and the healthcare and the rehab. And he goes on to tell his entire story. And somewhere out there, someone will look at that paper and say, oh my God, that's my
They know who it
author.
is.
Right.
They know who it is.
And they'll have a reaction.
So you'll read it when you come out? When you
So
do
what
these
I do is I
events?
read the ones that I've written that day.
Okay.
And I put the energy out there, and I allow it to be what it is, to do what it has to do. And then people come up to my staff and say, my God, he just said something about so-and-so. And if it's right, I give it to them. If I don't feel settled, then I don't give it to them.
Okay.
Right? So I don't just hand out papers for the fun of it. There's got to be something I really feel inside.
It was meant for them.
That it was meant for them. I got to feel that energy. Same thing with Ray. He talks about how he was sick the night before, right? And he showcases that by these 3 dark blue stars. He talks about himself having to go to the hospital emergency room because something that happened to him. It won't make sense to everybody.
Right.
But it will make sense to the person who is his family.
Mm-hmm.
There are papers in here with loved ones' last names on them. Mr. Arcand, D. Simone, Thibodeau, LaFrancois. It goes on in Arcand.
Right.
I have no idea who those people are, nor do I have any idea who all of these people are. Right? None. Not a clue. And I have no idea who their loved ones are.
Now, did you did you open yourself up to this? Why did these messages start coming versus, you're in a session with someone or you're doing a group thing?
That's another good question, because I had too many messages and I couldn't contain them all. And trying to be with them all, I just couldn't do it, so I had to write them down.
Okay.
And then writing them down helps me to keep that energy alive, really, So when I get this paper and I start talking about Arthur, this is how it works. And listen, I did do an event once, and there was a psychiatrist in the room, and she came up to me at the end and she said, yeah, you could use a pill, she said. That was one place. And another, at a hospital, at Westchester Hospital, I do events there every year, once a year. And there was a psychiatrist in the room, and she said, well, no, you're okay. So,
Yeah.
It's everyone has a different viewpoint. I forgot where I was going with that story.
Yeah.
But,
That's funny.
but each of them tell a very different story. But it's not till I am face to face or on the phone with someone do I come to the realization that I have been waiting for them. There are moments in the audience where I look at someone and I say, I've been waiting for you. And I know in my head and I know in my heart there is a purple paper for them. My staff digs it out, we pull it out, I show it to the audience, and here we go. Something happens. Like in here in my book,
Yes. Talk about your book, yeah.
I tell, in the first chapter, I tell the story of a woman who was sitting in an audience of 800 people, and her son, who passed away tragically, unbelievably tragically, passed away, was leaving me this little message in my mind and this feeling, and it was overwhelming and it was overpowering me. And then I look at the entire audience, and there behind the lady, who's sitting nearly in the last row, was a light that was shining around her. And I thought, well, maybe it's just the lighting in the studio, in the stadium. Whatever it was. And then all of a sudden I realized I had a paper for her. And I looked at the entire audience and I gazed down to her seated way in the back row, and I said, I have a paper. I have a purple paper for you. I have been waiting for you. I grab the paper. I jump off the stage. I run past 800 people to the woman in the last row whose makeup is now a mess because she is also having some reaction. And I find my way to her and I say, this is yours. She stops breathing. People around her stop breathing. And it was a picture of a boat. Her son had fallen off a boat, had a heart attack. And the whole story that was displayed was told in that moment to that woman on that paper. Now she left there with a moment of peace. Isn't that what we're supposed to do for each other?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
it
I mean,
is.
aren't we supposed to help each other?
Yes, we are.
Now, at my events, I command the audience to help each other. I say, help that girl over there. She's only 20-something years old and her dad died. Send her love right now. Right? I ask them to go beyond themselves, beyond their own pain and grief, to stand in their humanity and shower that one little kid. Look, if I die, my 27-year-old girl would be without me. I'd want someone to shower her with love. I'd want someone to do that. I want someone to do that for you while we're sitting here, because you need us to do that for you. So everybody who's watching, wherever you are, whenever you see this, shower you, Rosemary, with this love and energy so that you feel it too. Time and distance will make no difference, because energy knows what to do, where to go. It's intelligent, it's profound, and it will find its way to you. Just like these purple papers, just like that woman sitting in a room with 800 people. How did she get picked out? How?
No, that's pretty remarkable. So it's not like
How?
you say, I've got a message from so-and-so, and people raise their hands. It's like you zoom in on them.
I also never say, it sounds like a B or it sounds like a C.
You don't do that, yeah,
Never.
yeah.
Not ever, not once. Because I say, I kind of zone in, get in there, say what I have to say about whatever it is I have to say. And I often say to the audience, look, I don't know your dad's middle name, but man, do I know his story. And I think his story is more important than his middle name. It'll change that family somehow. So all of these someday will find their rightful owners somewhere. Joseph talks about his father named Joseph on this purple paper, and the story that they want to tell together somehow. In Junior, now this one here, 6/7/2019, caused a lot of commotion in Maryland.
Let's go.
They want this. There were people in the audience who wanted this paper, but I said, you
Really?
know what? I'm not sure yet, so I can't hand it off to you.
Oh, so you get the feeling, you know for sure if it's for them.
If it's
For
for
sure.
them, yeah.
And for sure, I know in my heart that it's in the right spot. And so at an event, if you will, people come up to the table, they look at them, my staff makes sure they're all
Oh, I
there.
see.
let them
That's how you
I
do
let
it.
them look at them, I let them
Okay.
feel them, I let them touch them, I let them hear the story. And if I feel that message is their loved one, then I'm going to give it to them right there at that moment to
Okay.
take with them. I don't take them with me. I photograph them all. I protect that part of it, but I don't do anything but hand it off to them.
Wow.
Even if somebody sees it on my social media page, we organize a private, free conversation with each other for me to determine if that really is Uncle Bob, And so that's how this all works. But we're all connected. We're all connected.
So when you have these shows that you go, now do you just tell people there in the audience, a spirit will talk to you and you'll look
Yeah,
at
I'll
someone,
say whatever I got to say.
to someone, right? You'll say, okay.
Yeah,
And-
I don't rely on these.
No.
Okay.
This is just an added bonus to the experience, I think.
Right.
I walk out and say, your grandmother's here, your father's here, your uncle, blah, blah. It's
Okay,
not-
so you point to them because you can see.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't ever say, in this section there's a red
Right,
boat.
right.
I say, whatever. Now, there is a moment in the event at the end where I often say to someone, who's in your heart the most? Now I'm giving them permission to speak. And the reason why that happens is because I think there's a purple paper for them, and I think they have so much pain that even saying their name might help them navigate through their pain. It doesn't mean I even have a message for them, but I look at them and I see how brokenhearted they are, and it gives me and the audience an opportunity again to step beyond our own pain and into our humanity. There was a moment at an event recently. A woman pleaded with me for a message. I had nothing, not a whisper in my head. So I said, I don't have a message, but all I have is the ability to stand by your side. That's all I have. I have the ability to embrace you. I have the ability to hold your hand, but that's all I have. Anything else would be fraudulent if I said, yes, he's here, and
Right,
not.
right,
It would be off. It wouldn't be right, and it
It's
wouldn't.
not who you are.
It's just not who I am.
Right.
So if all I can do is hold your hand or hold you, I mean, I remember holding a woman so that she just squeezed me tighter and tighter, and the audience is making sounds, and she's going tighter and tighter, and we get done. I got black makeup all over me, my coat's all a mess, but it was for love. It was for that moment, for that woman to be able to catch her breath and take a step forward, because that's really what it's all about. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You know, that's really what it is. It's telling that story. But those signs and those messages are ever present. My mother is ever present. She's just there. She's not in limbo. She's not in hell. She's not lost. She's not in between. She's not in the abyss. She's present. Like I'll be present when I go, and my daughter and my friends and the people that love me will be able to feel the essence in my energy again and again and again and again.
I would think that, I mean, it's such wonderful news. You would think that people want to hear, want to believe it, but they don't. They don't.
Well, it goes back to
guess- Yeah, right.
old stories, old ways of being. I mean, the audiences are changing now. They're becoming more opened. They're becoming more willing to go on the journey. Men are becoming very receptive and willing to go on the journey. I mean, I remember being at an event once. Like, this guy cracked me up. I walked right past him and said, "Your brother's here," just like this. The guy burst out crying. Big guy like this, bawling his eyes out. I don't know what else I said to the guy.
Right.
It was incredible. It was incredible. You know, I did an event in New York, and there were people there from a very intense TV show. Reality TV stars were at an event of mine in New York. Same thing happened. I walked by these three macho guys, and they're sitting there like this, and their muscles are as big as can be, and they got this look, and they're looking at me like I have a million heads, and I walked by, and I said, "Your father's here," and the guy went like this, and, you know, he nearly dropped at that moment, because whatever happened next gave him what he needed to move forward. Whatever happened, I don't even remember what happened, but it helped him.
You just remember certain points, yeah.
I just remember
Right.
that guy's reaction, which was transformative for him, but it was also transformative for the audience.
Yeah.
Right? They get to see how it really should look and how it really feels, right? Because that's the way it goes.
So why is it that sometimes messages come in and sometimes they don't? So somebody could be there sitting in the audience really
Good
wanting a
question.
message, right? And
Yeah.
it doesn't
You know,
come.
some voices are louder than others. Some energy is stronger than others. Some people are in more need than others. But there's no deciphering that. You know, it takes a total trust that you're going to walk into a room and you're going to give as many messages as you can. I mean, you have no idea the anxiety I feel just before I step out there, because not because I don't think I could do anything, but because what if there's that one kid in the room whose father passed and he just needs to know it's okay, you know, and it doesn't happen. That's my ego talking, by the way, anyways. But, you know, I want people to feel better. I want you to feel
Right,
better
that's
so
what
you
you
can
want.
live a good life, a happy life, a loving life, a fulfilled life, an abundant life. And sometimes when grief is in the way, we can't live that life.
Yeah.
We just
That's
can't.
true. That's
Because that becomes what's familiar. And when grief is so familiar, we forgot what's on the other side of grief. We forgot that there's this amazing bridge from here to there. And all we have to do is breathe and step through it, and then something changes, and someone changes, and experiences change.
True.
And, you know, this book,
Yeah, tell us about
Yeah,
this book now.
please.
well, I'm excited.
It's called
It's called Signs of
Signs
Spirit.
of Spirit.
And it's
what's
published
it
by
about?
Llewellyn Worldwide.
Okay.
It's my first publishing deal. All the other books I've done are all self-published, but this is my
Oh,
first big
congratulations.
publishing deal. It's very exciting, and this book tells the story of the people who have received a purple paper. So there's 44
nice.
stories of people who tell the story of their loved one,
Oh, what happened?
of
Yeah.
the purple paper, of who they were. The most amazing thing about the book is after chapter 1, I disappear. You don't hear my voice at all. You hear the voice being told because the stories are being told by the people who have had the experience.
So they'll explain about their purple paper.
Yes.
So they'll explain this is what this
Yeah,
meant.
and in the book, the purple paper images are in there.
Oh, yeah.
So the purple papers that they've received and how they received them and how they articulate the story are in the book as well. And so the book, just tells the story of that eternal connection. Now, there's something very exciting about this book as well, and that is the publisher asked me if I would focus energy on papers that were not delivered, could they go into the book? So I sat with all of my purple papers, and I now in the back of the book are 35 purple papers that have not found their rightful owners yet. And so somewhere out there, the Mr. Gongoleski family will be found. And when they're found, I'm going to know it, they're going to know it, and something is going to change.
They can get in touch with you.
Yeah, they can
Okay.
get through the publisher. They can find me, and we can have a connection. But the book just came out August 8th, and it's been released in the UK, Canada, and Australia in the last 30 days as well. So, it's making its way. It takes a while for a book to make its way, but it's making its way, and it's telling the story of the eternal connection that exists between us, the love and the energy that exists between us. And it's a very, the story I want to tell is a loving story. But there are kids in this book that have committed suicide. There's a story that you will read that will change you. It's about a boy who jumps off a bridge, and the mother who gets a purple paper depicting exactly what his room was like and what was sitting on his desk, where he put his note on the desk.
Amazing.
On my best day, I couldn't make that up, right?
Right.
But when she received that paper and she tells her story, it's profound when you hear her story, when you read her story. And there's a lot of others in there. Chapter 2 is about a young boy who dies unexpectedly at a pool party. And then you get to read the poems that he had written before he passed away. I mean, so there's more to the story than just a medium walking into a room saying your mother wants to talk to you. Right? It's the kind of opening up and kind of cranking open the grief and the suffering and stepping in, maybe putting a little love in there, and then taking a step forward. That's what the book is about. That's what the papers are about. That's what the whole mission is about, really. It's about that. It's about telling the story of the continuity of love that exists between us. Now, I want to say one other thing, though, because I don't think Signs of Spirit, though this book is about our loved ones, but I think the entire universe is talking to us. I mean, I don't think it's just my mother. I think there's an entourage behind her. I think there's so much energy.
Right.
And it's different kinds of energy. And not everybody I meet wants, oh, wow, the whole room is full of light right at this second.
Really? Oh,
Yep.
I got goosebumps.
Really?
Right at this second.
Ooh.
I was just thinking about the whole space has changed just now. So what happens in that moment, this is what happens in a normal space, a normal hang on. The whole place is full of light right at this moment. You've brought an entourage of souls standing by your side right now. You can feel it happening. And the reason why you feel it happening is because 3 weeks ago you asked the universe for a little extra inspiration. Quietly and silently, you were sitting at home. It was 3 weeks ago Wednesday night. You were sitting there. It was 9:48 p.m. and you were saying, just give me a sign, one tiny little sign that things are going to smooth out and that my family is standing by my side and that I don't have to go through this whole thing alone somehow and that somehow through the power of your ability to ask one little question, to be in a place of faith or trust or belief, one little thing, opened the doorway to this moment. This is your moment. It's yours. So what you should do right now is allow all of us, because there's a lot of us, to surround you and embrace you. And your child's fine.
Oh.
I'm all right, Ma.
I've been asking him, where's he
I'm
lately?
all
I
right,
haven't
Ma.
heard.
3 weeks ago, you were sitting there in your room asking the same question you've been asking day in and day out, thinking that nobody hears you. Well, he says, I hear you. He doesn't want to talk. Can I continue? He does not want to come here to talk to you about how he passed. That's over with now. What he wants to talk about with you is how his soul is free.
That's what I want, yeah.
That he's totally free.
Oh, that's
That he's not trapped or stuck or anything. And that when you are sitting there by yourself at all, this is your heart just opened right now, his spirit, his light, his love, his energy is right in front of you. And that all he wants you to know is that you served him well. You gave him what he needed in life, and never once in our lives together were you a disappointment.
Oh, I could ask him that.
I know, I didn't make this up. This is real.
Yeah,
I know.
I did.
I know. You know, it always astounds me in an audience when the audience says, "Oh my God, I did say that." Well, I didn't make it up. It was a moment that was. It's still here, though. His presence is here. The energy is still here. Your boy is still here. And I can't get out the 3 weeks ago on a Wednesday night at 9:48 p.m. you were sitting there asking. And this moment for you is a prayer answered. And it's not everybody asks me about our loved ones. They say, some people say, am I going to be all right? Well, he's come here to tell you that you're going to be all right. Aww. That you're going to be all right. And you know what I have to, can I carry on? Yeah. I don't know if I'm pressing time or what.
No, you're all right.
I don't know what the story is anymore now. You do bring value and service to the world. And you can't think that you don't. And you have to find that space inside of you where you see this yourself. It isn't the job of the medium to help you see it. It's the job of me to help you, to remind you that it's there, for you to look at it. Because he's saying over and over again, you do offer something. You're not wasting time. You're not wasting energy. You're not wasting moments. That what your life is what it is. And you are meant to carry on and keep moving forward somehow. So your boy's here. Now, I don't know your boy's name. I don't want you to say it. I don't know. But I do know his story. And I do know why he's here. And I do know why we're here, actually. My being here today is not by coincidence. It's by some other magnificent experience, some other synchronized moment where the universe hears the prayer of a woman and the sun hears the prayer or a thought or a feeling of someone. And you sitting there by yourself wondering, is anyone ever hearing me? That moment, this moment, answers that prayer for you. As it does for the people who ask out there in the world, for the people who ask every single day. People ask every day, am I going to be all right? People ask every day, where's my kid? People ask every day, are we going to make it through the storm? People ask these questions every day. A guy like me simply reminds you that in this moment, right here, right there, out there in the world, in this moment, it's in here, it's in you, it's part of you. It's part of you. There's nothing here that happens by trick.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's okay. Get in the shot. What the heck? She needs the box. Yeah, good job. Good job. And so those things happen, and they happen automatically instantly. I couldn't manufacture that if I tried. Now it's all gone. It's all disappearing.
Yeah.
I couldn't make that happen. Now imagine that happening when there are 50 people in the room, right? Because the other thing I do is I keep the audiences smaller, right? There are certainly audiences with 100, 200 people in them, but the majority of the audiences are 50, 60, so I can talk to as many people as possible in that moment so that we can have an experience like this that is genuine and heartfelt and real. And that is the way it works, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, MD.
It just is the way it is, really.
That was beautiful. Thank you. It was everything that I asked, everything I felt, and I've been feeling for a long time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, the real question is, what are you going to do with that information?
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I have to believe.
How are you going to allow that information now to become your mantra? How do you allow that information to be your new blueprint, your new beginning, right? Because that's where the work is. This moment was great, but now the work begins really. Because how do you now do that? How do you now fulfill that? That's where the hard work comes in.
I know. One thing I have to do is change my way of thinking.
It is.
I know that.
It is about thinking.
It's hard. It's very hard. Been doing this all my life. It's hard.
So I read an article recently that said the more that we bring positive energy into our thinking, the more that it rewires our brain. Because our brain seems to follow the negative patterns a little bit easier than it does the positive patterns. So the more that we institute that in our everyday existence, that becomes what's familiar, right? That becomes what's important to talk about.
Okay. I know.
I don't even know where we are.
I know. We got a little bit of time.
I had a feeling like, where did we go?
Wow, right? It was
it felt like the walls had
Did for a minute,
vanished.
Yeah,
and
for a minute.
It, like none of this stuff in the studio
know.
existed. It was
It was
just the essence and the energy of whatever happened in that moment.
I know. When you said light, my whole body just goosebumped the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just when you said it was filling with light,
Yeah. Well, that's what happens, right? The second you make the connection to it, it does something. It creates this volcano eruption of energy, and then all of a sudden you have to go with it. People do stop it, they do hold back, they step back, but when you step into it, that's when you get your answers. That's when you're connected. And that's when the real heart truth takes place.
Really
that's what happens, and that's what happened to you.
Thank you.
Thank
you all. Thank you.
It's my honor to have this life.
Yeah.
It's my honor
wonderful.
to be here. I think about the job I left 30 years ago to do this. If I didn't leave the job, I wouldn't be here. So here I am, and here we are together, all connected.
I have to tell the audience that just being in the room with this man is so wonderful. You have a presence about you that I just want to love you, hug you, hold you.
No wonder people do. Yeah, squeeze you to death.
It's just something just delightful that comes from
not
you.
Everybody feels
Not that one psychiatrist.
That's my friend out there.
Yeah.
Not everybody has that feeling, but I appreciate your sentiment.
That's how I feel,
take
and
it
I
in.
think a lot of them will feel that way.
Well, a lot of
They
people
get to
feel
meet you.
something. I'm honored. I often say to people, if you see me, I remember once walking into Job Lot, and the lady said, "Oh my God, are you rolling a medium?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "What's my Mother's Day?" And I said, "I don't know." I did say, "Why did you forget?" That didn't go over
That's
that
funny.
well.
I like
and
that.
it's funny though.
I love that
That's
sarcastic
a good
sense
joke.
of humor.
It's a
I
good
love
It's a
it.
good joke.
And
That's
it's
a
a
funny
good joke.
Yeah.
And it lightens
Love
the
that.
audience.
Yeah.
But if you see me out and about, ask me.
I know.
Come right up and ask.
People do that to me just today.
Just
Two
ask.
people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw you on TV.
Yep.
Like I said, just public
Just ask
TV.
a
That's
question.
all. That's all. Yeah.
My mission is to serve, and I serve, and I do my thing, and and just ask the questions and do whatever it is you have to do. There's a great book called it's just left my mind. Left my mind. Great book about service, but when I remember it, I'll
Well, I
let
was
you
going
know.
to tell you that. I mean, you knowing that you are serving, you want to serve, you want
Yeah.
to help people. I know that feeling. We all have that feeling. We want to help.
Yes.
Yeah, help people.
And sometimes we get lost, like we don't know what to do anymore. You know,
Yeah.
how to get through to people and how to,
help them find peace.
to help
Yeah.
people to believe. Believing is wonderful. If you believe, you have nothing to be afraid of with life.
It's
you don't have
true.
to be afraid of death.
It's
There is
true.
no death.
That's
You know?
true.
So I don't know how to reach him anymore. I'm just getting very depressed about it. You know.
Well, you have a responsibility though, and that responsibility is to hold that energy. You trying to help them find their way, and like my trying to help them find their way, sometimes is our ego talking, right? We want them to feel better.
Could be,
Right.
But
yeah.
everybody has their own destiny. The best thing you can do is recognize that you have value and that what you offer is supportive and loving, and through your show, through your work, through your connections, you change lives. You change the way people think.
You don't always see it.
That's right. We
I
don't
think
always
sometimes
see it.
people can put up a front like this, when you first say something like, I don't believe in that, or I don't agree
I know
with
that's
you.
what that woman said to me today.
But then
yeah.
they walk away and you don't know the seed that got planted.
You know,
just
boy,
don't.
if we had more time to talk, I could talk about that, because that's a
Yeah.
really important thing. It's all about judgment, and ego is a good thing, by the way, and it's a challenging thing all at the same time. My ego wants everyone to feel better. Well, I'm judging and having expectations that limit the experience. So when I release the judgment or my expectation, then we have a limitless experience at that moment.
Yeah,
you know?
you're right. Yeah,
You know,
I know what you
but,
mean.
But
yeah.
and I know what you mean too, because I want everybody to feel better too.
Yeah.
And I wanted all my patients to feel better. I wanted all my old ladies and old men to feel better, and I wanted my staff to feel better. So I totally understand where you're coming from, because I'm in the same exact boat as you're in, same one. And so that's it. We understand each other.
And this lady helped me so much. She joined my show, and she's a fantastic co-host, fantastic
that.
guest. So now we're both hosts.
Yep.
She's
Love
part of
that.
this show. She's a gracious, wonderful lady, and she just
Thank you.
She's so
It's
good at what she
lovely.
does. So good, yeah.
Well,
God's
yeah,
blessed
great
me too much
question,
in my
that's for
life.
sure.
Yeah.
Too much
Yeah.
praise.
Yeah.
No, it's serious. But I want to run around the store sometime and just go, believe, you'll be so happy. Right? I know it must be our ego, but it's just what I
Well,
want to
you
do
do
that.
it in your way, and let trust and faith do the rest.
Yes.
Let that touch them
Right.
and change them when
Right.
they need that,
Right.
because
Trust
we
them.
don't know
Right.
what people carry. I mean, when if I could talk even further, I'd tell you the stories of how people have passed and what people have to carry. Then things change. I mean,
We have to stop.
yeah, we do have to stop.
No.
Do you think you would come back again?
Yeah, sure.
You will? Oh, terrific. I love it. And we're going to have him back? Oh, good. I
Pick
think
up
it's
where
just,
we left off.
Yeah, I think it's just going to happen in splurts whenever
Sure.
time is right?
Right? For sure.
Oh,
Not
this
gonna
is
argue with
wonderful. We're
that.
going to have him back, everybody. Isn't that great? All right, we're going to give you his contact information right now. That's me. Okay. For me, it's 203-627-7966. Email whitebuffalo8comcast.net. And then my website, www.rosemarylechance.com. And the most important, the www.gabrielle-publishing-house.com, where you'll have all the information, all the books that you can read about everything that's going on in the spirit world.
Okay, so that's me. Check out my website at carlagustin.com. Also, I have a show on YouTube called Spiritual Invitation. Just type my name into the search, and all the episodes will come up.
Now,
Roland.
Roland, where can we get this book? On Amazon?
You can get it at Llewellyn, Amazon.
All right.
You can get it all over
Okay.
over the place.
Roland Comtois, RCOMTOIS ADIM@gmail.com, and his website is www.rolandcomtois.net.
Thank you.
Thank
It was
you.
great.
Oh, it was
Thank you so much.
fantastic.
yeah, I
Thank
know.
you.
It was
Lovely
Fantastic.
meeting you.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you
love
so
you,
much.
and we'll
Nice
see
meeting
you
you too.
next time.
See you next time. Thank
Good
you.
night, everybody.
Okay,
Mwah.
good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Fill your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hands. Feel the comfort